Have you ever wondered if Ouija boards are actually small portals to the spiritual realm? Have you ever wondered if there's negative spiritual consequences that come with using one? My name is Carlos Santiago, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a true story that may make you think twice about ever using one. If this kind of content interests you, then please feel free to like and follow for more. Now, this is a story as told by the Ouija experiencer in her own words, a young girl in her early 20s. Before this incident, I had never used a Ouija board in my life. Growing up, I had an aunt who would dabble with Ouija boards and the paranormal, but my mother always advised me never to touch one. One day, my best friend decided it would be fun to buy a Ouija board and use it with a few of our friends. I wouldn't say we were complete skeptics, but I don't think any of us were really expecting anything wild to happen. We went on the internet and we looked up how to safely use one and planned out what kind of questions we should ask. So we went to Toys R Us and picked up a Hasbro Ouija board. We didn't want to use it at our house, so we gathered up a couple of friends and I drove to a state park a few towns over. We start to head up a hiking trail and find a good spot to lay the board down. We began going through the motions of asking if there was a spirit who would like to communicate. You know, all the normal stuff you would do. The planchette, or small heart-shaped plastic piece, moved with ease. It's a really strange feeling when it glides across the board. The planchette it came with was a thick hunk of plastic, and there was quite a bit of friction when trying to intentionally move it on the board. We were all stunned that it actually worked. We were asking the spirit if it was a good spirit. Of course, the planchette moved over to no. We then asked it if it wanted to harm us. The planchette moves over to yes. My friend asked how it would go about doing this, how it would go about hurting us. The board then began to spell out ENGINE, engine. We see a group of hikers coming up in our general direction, and we carelessly put the board away without properly saying goodbye. We hiked back down to another secluded area and decided to try again. This time, we come in contact with a spirit who claims to be a 6-year-old boy who died sometime in the 1800s. He seemed nice at first, until he told one of our friends that he wanted him to die so he would have someone to play with. We then decided to ask the board questions only that we knew the answers to. Each person asking the question took their hands off the planchette to be certain. The board got every single question correct, and that's when I started to feel a bit uneasy. I honestly couldn't believe it. The board then proceeded to spell out my name. I was confused as to why and what that meant for me. Soon after, it began to rain, so we told the board that we had to go and asked if it would bring the planchette down to goodbye. It complied. We all began walking back to my car when I noticed this woman sitting in an SUV next to mine, just watching us. Her gaze never really left, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. We all get in the car and I go to start it and the engine doesn't turn over. It was almost as if the battery was dead, but all my accessories still worked. This is when I start to freak out. I hadn't had my car for very long and it never gave me trouble. It seemed like way too much of a coincidence. I looked over at that woman in the SUV and put my window down and asked her if she has any jumper cables. She reaches behind her and quickly pulls them out as if she already had them ready. We just start chatting with this woman and thank her for letting us use the jumper cables. It turns out she has the same name as me, which the board had previously spelled out just a few minutes ago. Was this perhaps a warning? She tells us that she works as an ultrasound tech at a local hospital. We ask her what she's doing in the parking lot, which she explained she was waiting for her weed dealer. Medical marijuana is legal in my state, so I was a bit perplexed, but I didn't think anything of it at the time. I was just grateful that she was helping us. I go to start my car and it still doesn't work. At this point, it is getting dark and I begin to come to terms to the fact that I'll have to call a tow truck. Our friends ended up getting picked up and my best friend stayed with me as we waited for the tow truck to arrive. We told the woman she could leave since she was still weirdly waiting with us. She offered for us to sit in her car while we wait because it started to rain again. I asked her if she could pop the trunk so I could sit on the ledge, but she told me the trunk didn't open. So stupidly, my best friend and I get in the car. The weird woman made a joke about disabling her child's safety locks in the back, so I don't think she's trying to keep us here. That rubbed me the wrong way. She starts telling me that maybe I should just leave my car there and offer to give us a ride home. I politely decline. Then she tells me she has a friend whose husband works for VW and he can surely fix my car for a good price. She calls up her friend, and because we were in the car, it was quiet enough that my best friend and I could faintly hear the person on the other line. The woman explains the car problem and asks how much it would be to fix it. We hear the other person on the line ask if I'm a boy or a girl. The woman answers, girl. Then the man on the other line simply said, good. Nope. We get out of the car and I tell her the tow truck should be here soon and I thank her for her help. We gave her the Ouija board and told her she can keep it because we didn't want it anymore. I still wondered what she did with it. She kept trying to get me to give her my phone number and kept saying that she would come with me to get my car fixed from her friends. Eventually, she took off. We ended up getting back home very late. We told the AAA guy how we were playing around with the Ouija board and met the weird lady afterwards. He said he wouldn't have picked us up if he had known that. The next day, my best friend opened up his text that he sent out while we were waiting for the tow. In a conversation with his mother, the text box had, "Yes, Satan, yes," written out. The message wasn't sent. It was saved as a draft, but he sure as hell didn't write that. The next day, I called the hospital to see if that woman even worked there like she claimed. Nope. They transferred me to 2 different floors and there was no ultrasound tech working there with my name. To this day, I still don't know how to explain what happened that night, and I'm sure as hell never using a Ouija board ever again. Also, the drug dealer that woman claimed to be waiting for never even showed up. So what she was doing there that night and what her intentions were, I'll never know. Now, this is a milder case compared to some other very terrible Ouija board experiences. But what is funny is the girl knew it was a bad idea, but she decided to do it anyway. The reason I chose this particular story is because it's a perfect example of when you deal with the spiritual realm, it goes beyond natural circumstances. The girl literally got a second chance. Some people aren't that lucky. She was at least smart about it and decided to try it away from home. And by the way, you should never try Ouija boards or spirit boxes at your house. They can act as portals. It is easy to get evil spirits in, but it can be extremely difficult to get them out. Why do I say they are evil spirits? Well, I've never heard of good spirits communicating with people through that board that didn't end up having an evil agenda. Like many familiar spirits, they can certainly pose or act as helpful and kind at first. They usually aren't blunt and straight out about being evil like the one in this story. Usually their goal is to deceive you. There is a reason the Bible warns against practices of divination or trying to contact spirits. At first, you may not even realize there is a problem. Your life doesn't usually become a living hell after the first time you use the board. A lot of evil spirits are patient. They can play the long game with you. So it's best just not to entertain them. I have another terrifying true story about a spirit interaction and relationship that developed over years. I will share that story soon. I have more to share on this topic as well as other true stories. If you have your own Ouija or paranormal experience and want to share it on this platform, feel free to contact me via email. You can write it out or even do a voice recording. My contact info is below. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.